Hey Floss Tube, welcome back. This is my 90th Floss Tube video, and I am excited to share with you what I've been working on the past couple of weeks. But first of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the things that I have to share with you. And if you are returning, thank you for coming back and watching my videos. I really appreciate it. It's been a great couple of weeks. Things have been going well down here. We are in the height of summer. It's been really hot, but the humidity hasn't come up. Except for a couple of days. We had a day of thunderstorms the last couple of days. That's late. It usually happens around the 4th of July. And we're getting close to the end of July, and we haven't really seen any monsoon activity. So that's a little bit strange. It's been nice that it hasn't been really humid, but it's also been miserably hot. So before we get into what I have actually been working on, I want to answer some questions that have been left on my channel since the last time I posted a video. So first of all, Heather asked me about reversible cross-stitching. She asked if there was a good resource that she could use to learn how to do it. And probably the best resource that I know of is this book. This book is called The Proper Stitch. It's a book by Darlene Osteen, who owned the Needles Praise. And from what I understand, this is now available as a digital download. It is a really, really awesome resource. It talks about a whole bunch of different stitches and how to do them. It tells you how to do them. It tells you, it gives you recommendations on how to start your thread for making the stitch and how to end off afterwards. It's a really good resource. And if you want to talk about reversible cross stitch, there are a couple of sections on different methods to do reversible cross stitch that I found really helpful, along with like suggestions on how to do it, because you have to kind of think differently in order to do reversible cross stitch. This also documents how to do Montenegrin stitch and the different ways to turn corners with Montenegrin stitch, which was really helpful when I was working on that part of the Queen Sampler. I still have a little bit of Montenegrin stitch left to do. Diagonal double back stitch, there is just a whole bunch of different stitches. And like I say, it tells you how to start and stop so that your back looks really neat. Your back's not necessarily going to look the same as the front, but it is going to look very, very neat if you follow this. So if you want to learn about how to do reversible cross stitch, this is a really good resource. Darlene Osteen, she is the person who designed the Queen Sampler, which I am stitching. And if you don't want to do the Queen Sampler, this book also has a few samplers in the back that kind of use the techniques that are used in the book. So I'll show you a couple of them, because they are actually really, really pretty. And I've looked at these and have been tempted to start one of these after I finish the Queen Sampler. This is called the Proper Stitch Sampler. So that uses a bunch of techniques. It's a lot like the Queen Sampler. You have a bunch of stitches down here, and then there's even some white work and some cut work, just like the Queen Sampler. Another one, this is the Tudor Rose Sampler, which I think I like this one even better. I really like the colors for that one. And then the final sampler in here is called the Pink Sampler, and she says this was done as a tribute to breast cancer survivors, along with the pink ribbon, that kind of thing. So there's another one. So So it tells you how to do the stitches, and then it shows you how to do some samplers that use those stitches. So Sarah asked me about, she noticed that I had a cover that I was using for my cross stitch frames, and she asked me some details about that. That is a bag that I actually made a couple of years ago, and I have two of them, one for each size of frame that I have, and I'll show it to you. Basically, all I did is I did a search online for a bag pattern, and the pattern that I found that I decided to use, of course, was only a bag like this, and I just changed the measurements so that it would fit my frame. So I found this fabric at Hobby Lobby, I think, is where I got it, Lighthouses. I really like Lighthouses, so I like this fabric. And it has a zipper, a red zipper, and then it's also lined with this dark blue fabric. Basically what you do, it's actually really easy. And what you do is you have basically two different colors of fabric, the lining and your real fabric. You sew them onto the zipper, and then you sew basically a great big stitch around the perimeter, and then pull everything inside out, and everything just kind of fits together. It's actually really easy. I'm not much at sewing. I can't sew a straight line, and nothing ever, when I made these, nothing was correctly aligned, so there's a lot of bulk material in the seams that I didn't know what to do with, but it still works, and it serves its purpose for what I want to do. So I have this one, that's for my smaller frame, and then I also did this one for my larger frame, which is planets, and another zipper with this color lining. So if I can find the pattern, I'll post a link to it in the show notes below if you want to do it. And it's like I say, it's really quite straightforward and easy to do, and it's really easy to adapt. Basically, you're basically limited by the length of a zipper that you can use for the width, and then of course how big a material you can get. So yeah, so I really like these. I like putting my projects in them so that they are so that they remain clean while they're out. So those are my bags. So Sarah, it's really easy to do if you sew, and if you don't sew, like I don't sew, you can do it also, I guess. Okay, Chuck asked me what the smallest Ada count is that can be used with number 5 DMC floss. Now Chuck, I think you are talking about DMC Pearl Cotton number 5. I've never worked with Pearl Cotton number 5. So you'll kind of have to experiment a little to see. My guess would be 10 or 11 count. I think you would have to have a really low count fabric to be able to work with that size of floss. If anybody knows better the answer to that, feel free to comment in the comments below. If you have experience with stitching with DMC Pearl Cotton number 5. Mary asked me, I'm planning on starting Miss Hathaway's Cottage, which is a design by, it's Marty Bell. She was a watercolor painter, and Miss Hathaway's Cottage is a cross-stitch adaptation of a watercolor painting that she did of Anne Hathaway's cottage. Anne Hathaway was Shakespeare's wife, and I'm planning on stitching that. And she asked me if I'm planning on parking and stitching diagonally when I stitch that, because it's not quite full coverage. The sky is not stitched. And yes, I will stitch it diagonally. And one of the pieces I'm going to show you today is very similar. It's all stitched except for certain sections, and I'm stitching it diagonally. So when I show you that piece, Mary, you can kind of see what I'm doing. I think it'll be a little bit more obvious what I'm doing. Brenda asked me, so a long time ago, when I was first started doing videos, I did a demonstration of a lock scroll frame and how to load it. And that video still gets views, and I still get comments about it. And Brenda asked me about what I think about my lock scroll frame. And sometimes I do use it. Sometimes I end up with having not enough fabric margin across the top and bottom of my piece that I can use it in my Omanic frame, which is what I am now using. And because of that, sometimes I'll use my lock scroll frame. I can't get the same amount of tension. I can get pretty good tension, but I can't get the same amount of tension that I get with my Omanic frame. So I prefer my Omanic frame over my lock scroll frame, and my lock scroll frame only comes out for specific circumstances when I can't use my Omanic frame. Catherine asked me about my floss storage system. And Catherine, quite frankly, my floss storage is almost non-existent. Basically, I keep floss for each project. I don't have an entire collection of DMC. I just, when I start a project, I buy the floss for that project, and I keep it in those, I use bobbins, and I store them in those plastic bobbin cases that you can get at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, or even, I think they sell them at Walmart too. So that's what I use. And then when I finish a project, if I have any leftover floss, it just ends up in a big gallon bag. And then if I'm working on a project and I run out of colors, I try to remember to go to my bag and make sure that I don't have floss before I actually go buy more. So yeah, I don't really have an organized way of storing my floss that's not dedicated to a project. And I'm not planning on coming up with something. What I use, it works for me. So that's it. So thank you so much for all of your comments, and thank you for your questions. I always enjoy hearing from you. So let's talk a little bit about what I've been working on. It's been 3 weeks. I think I've got 3 weeks worth of projects to show you. And I'm really excited. And first of all, I need to go get something. Okay, so when I last made a video, I said I was going to work on this. And this is Dragon Quaker by Stickideen von der Weienburg. I finally got some fabric that I liked. I got a new piece of fabric of a color that I thought would work better, and I decided to pull it out and give it a start. So I have a new start, and this is what I was able to accomplish. This fabric is 32 count dirty linen from Zweigart, and of course I'm using the DMC floss that's called for, and this is what I was able to accomplish. So I started up in this corner and stitched a few of these motifs and a couple of letters. What I can say about this is these motifs are huge. They took a long time to stitch. When I get over here in the middle, it seems like the motifs will get a little bit smaller. But for this first pass, it felt like I was stitching forever to generate these. See if I can get a little bit closer. It looks like the color's going to wash out a little bit, but so I think my favorite of the motifs so far is this. And like I said before, I really like the colors of the floss. These are all some of my favorite colors, and so seeing that, and I really like how it's showing up on this fabric. This 3040, this motif is in 3041, and that is the color that was giving me a hard time before, that I didn't like. It still kind of fades into the background, but it looks a lot better than it used to. So yeah, I'm excited. The first dragon to stitch is like right in here, so I'm excited to be able to stitch one of the dragons, and so we'll look forward to doing that maybe the next time I pull this out. So yeah, this is Dragon Quaker by Stickideen von Weienburg, and it's a fun piece. I'm excited to stitch on more of it. Okay. The next week after I did that, we were traveling, and I didn't have room for my scroll frames. You saw how big my scroll frames are. I didn't have room for them to take them with me. So I debated about what I was going to work on, and I decided that I was going to just take a couple of small projects to work on, something that I could start and finish really easily, so that it wouldn't clog up the number of projects that I have. And so if you follow me, you know that last year I stitched a couple of the designs from the Hometown Holiday series, and I thought, well, I'll just keep working on that. So I stitched two of these designs. I stitched the third design, this is Caroling Quartet, which this one was really fun to stitch, and it turned out really nice. I got working on this, and all of a sudden realized that I had to have metallic gold floss. I had to have a DMC metallic, and I kind of panicked because I didn't have any with me. So I went to Hobby Lobby where we were, and I found this. This is DMC Diamant, and I used that. That's not the floss that was called for, but it's gold, and it worked really well. It seemed the biggest problem I had with it stitched really nice, but it tended to unravel. On the end that was free in my needle, that tended to unravel a little bit. So, but I think it really turned out nice. There's some nice gold sparkles in there. And then after I stitched that, I stitched the fourth in the series, which was Sweet Shop. So there's the Sweet Shop. You can see there's not much to say about it. I really like it. It's kind of cool to see the window. You can see the candy canes in the window, and I think that's a cake in the window. And then of course candy canes on the sign outside. This went really, really easy, and it's finished. So it was nice to do something small and do something that I could finish really quick. So I got three starts and 2 finishes in 3 weeks. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, these are nice. They're okay to stitch. They don't really float my boat like some of the other designs I stitched do, but they were nice. I have several more of these and hope to be able to stitch them, and someday I'll do something with them. I don't know what that will be yet, but that time's a long ways away. Okay, so the next thing, I've said in my last video that English Garden Sampler is going to be a priority, and So this is once again my priority. So I decided to work on this. So I worked on English Garden Sampler for another week. And I'll show you what this looked like the last time you saw it, which was last time I made a video. I am stitching it on 25 count Antique White Lugana using Sullivans Floss instead of DMC. I'm using the Sullivans equivalent colors. And if you see in my last video, I started filling in all the specialty stitches in the border. And I continue to do that. And this is what it looks like now. So you can see I was able to stitch most of this side and all of this side. And I also finished up all the specialty stitches in this medallion. So all I have left to do on the border is a little bit of this and the entire bottom and this medallion. And it really makes a difference to have everything filled in. There's a lot of, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of dimension that's added in the border, and it just really adds a lot of detail and a lot of interest to the border. I still have to go back in. There's beads all the way down through here that have to be put in. That'll be the very last thing I do. That's my plan, is to put the beads in the very last. So I'm looking forward to see what the beads add to it in addition to all of the specialty stitches. And I went into detail about what the specialty stitches are, so I won't do that again. But I'll give you a closer look just so you can see. So I'm looking forward to working on this again. Like I say, this is a priority. I think I've still got about a month and a half worth of work on this, but I don't want to. If I just rotate through everything like I have been, it'll be another year or two before this is finished because I have so many things going right now. So I'm not going to do that. I figured out what I'm going to do to make sure that this gets finished this year. So it looks really good. There is still a lot to do. You've got a lot of empty spaces in here that have to be filled in. There's a whole bunch of backstitch of the vines and the columns and the peacocks that has to be done. So I think I've got 3 or 4 days to do this. Let's see. It'll take me 2 days to do the bottom, and another maybe another 2 days to do this, a day to do this, and a day to do the medallions. So I think I've got at least 4 days more to do border before I can move on to something else. But yeah. So English Garden Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. That's my progress with that. And then that brings me to the beginning of this last week. And I debated about what to stitch, and I just had a terrible time at the beginning of the week. The first thing I decided to do is that I was going to do 101 alphabets. This is a design by Rosewood Manor. And if you remember, I started this and didn't like, I had a problem with the fabric that I was using. It started to rip. So then I decided that I was going to try a different fabric, and so I decided to choose to work 40 count mallow, which is a linen cotton blend from Zweigart. And I learned something, because there's a lot of backstitch in this, And I found out that DMC backstitch on 40 count, the DMC one strand on 40 count backstitch is really heavy. I didn't realize that. It looks like when you backstitch with 2 strands on like 20, 28 or 14 or 32 count, it's really heavy. And at first I thought, oh, I'll just live with this. But then I started working on an alphabet that was only 3 stitches high. Each letter was 3 stitches high and 1 stitch wide. And the back stitch was just so heavy that it just it didn't even look like letters. It looked like a big mess. And it was just really starting to get to me again. So 101 Alphabets is now on hiatus again. I've decided I'm going to get a different fabric. I'm going to go down to 36 count, which is the count that is called for in here. So 101 Alphabets is now kind of in limbo until I can get a piece of fabric that I feel like I can use. So I told my wife, this design seems to be cursed for me. So anyway, two tries and 2 fails. We'll go for a third some other time. So that kind of demoralized me a little bit, and then I tried to decide what else I was going to do. And I've been thinking that I've started to think I'm going to pull out Autumn Magic again, because it's kind of started to call to me a little bit. So I pulled it out and worked on it for one day, and one night was enough. I remembered why I didn't like it. I've decided I'm just not into stitching full coverage over 1 on 28 count. I just don't enjoy it. So I worked on that for one day and put it away. So I spent 3 days trying to decide what I was going to do. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to pull out my Tiny Decisions app on my phone, and I'm going to spin and have it tell me what to do. I can tell, just as an aside, I can tell it's time to put my rotation back in practice, because I've gotten to the point, I've got decision fatigue again, and anything I think that I want think about stitching, I say, no, I don't want to stitch that. Once I start stitching it, I'm okay, but just getting that start, it's giving me problems. So it's time to have something tell me what to stitch. It's time to do a rotation again. So my rotation is going to be starting up, and to decide what I was going to do, I spun my wheel and it came up with this. It came up with a Mid-Amish Life, which is this design. It's a set of 3 designs that picture Amish, like vignettes in Amish country. You can stitch them as 3 separate pieces, or you can stitch them all together. I am stitching them all together. This was originally published in 1987 in Cross Stitch and Country Crafts magazine. This that I have is from a book called 101 Best Loved Designs from Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. It's also available as a leaflet if you can find a leaflet. When I got this book, it wasn't very expensive. Now it's hard to find, and it's expensive. So I'm sorry if you can't get this. I've had a lot of people comment on Instagram how they love this piece and they would love to stitch it, and they're looking for the design. So anyway, I'll show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. I am stitching this on 25 count Wedgewood Lugana, which is the called for fabric. And because it's 25 count, I am stitching with 3 strands of floss because I wanted to have really good coverage. And 2 strands on 25 count is I didn't think that was going to be good enough coverage for this design. I'd done it before, but sometimes you can see individual X's, and I wanted it to be full coverage. So I chose to do 3 strands. It has not been a pleasant experience. Somebody asked me about that on Instagram. It hasn't been a pleasant experience. I will probably never stitch with 3 strands again if I can help it, based on this experience. But I really like the result. It's just kind of a pain to work with, and because of that, I'd been kind of avoiding this design. Oh, should I work on this? No, I don't want to work with 3 strands. But once I got working on it, I really enjoyed it, and this is what I was able to accomplish. So this is only about a half of a week's worth of work, and basically all I did is I finished this diagonal down to here. So not a lot of work, but I really like how it turned out, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed stitching it. So if you can see, the horse is basically finished. There's just a little bit of him left to stitch. You're starting to see there's a man waving to these people here on the porch. He'll start to show up a little bit more. And then this sign down here is almost completely stitched as well. So I did an extra wide diagonal this time. It was a 17 stitch wide diagonal, and the reason why I did that is I finished the first design and I moved over to the second design, and I wanted to line up with the 10 by 10 grid to make it easier for me to decide where to place my diagonals. So that made it so it took a little bit longer to get through that diagonal, but it also revealed a lot more. So, and you can see up here, there's empty space coming through here, and all I do is I just continue my diagonal as if there was nothing, as if there were stitches there. So I'll continue to do that. So the next time I stitch this, I'll move back up here and start working on the house. I should be really close to finishing the house. So yeah, I really like how this is turning out. I'm about halfway through. I have almost reached the bottom corner of the second design. That's right about here. So yeah, it's been over a year, just over a year since I started this. So I think that's pretty good progress for about a year. So, a Mid-Amish life. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about what I'm planning on doing. So I said I've decided that I'm going to put my rotation back into place, and it's going to be a little bit different because I want to concentrate on finishing English Garden Sampler. So right now I am planning on working on English Garden Sampler every other week, which means this week I'm going to pull out English Garden Sampler again. And then in the off weeks, I'm going to work on something else and work through my pieces that way, work through my rotation. And I'm not going to go through, it's just a coincidence. English Garden Sampler is my oldest whip. My second oldest whip is a Mid-Amish Life. It's just a coincidence that that came up on my spinner. I'm not going to go from oldest to youngest in my whips because it's starting to feel like a slog to get down to the newer stuff. So I'm going to use my spinner to put my rotation in place. Every time it's time to work on it, I'm going to spin, and that is going to be what I'm going to work on. And like I say, I'm going to do English Garden Sampler every other week because I want to finish it. And I may continue that. I'm kind of considering, once English Garden Sampler's out of the way, I'm kind of considering doing the same. Like, then A Mid-Amish Life will be my oldest whip. And I'm kind of considering working on it every other week too. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how things are going. So those are kind of my plans right now. So this week it's going to be English Garden Sampler again, which is, I'm excited. I want to get that border done. That border, it really looks nice. It's getting really tedious. It's got to be finished. And so I'm looking forward to finishing that. So those are my plans. Okay, the last time I talked to you, I mentioned that I had reached 5,000 subscribers. And once again, I want to thank everybody. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, and thank you for following me and subscribing to me. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy interacting with you. And I want to thank you. So we're going to do a giveaway. And this, because it's 5,000 subscribers, I have come up with five things that you can enter into for a giveaway. I hope that I've got a little bit of something for everybody. So let me share with you what I'm going to give away. A lot of these prizes are courtesy of the Fat Quarter Shop. I am on their list, and I get patterns from them and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm sharing the bounty with you guys. And so thank you so much to the Fat Quarter Shop for sending me this stuff. I'm glad to be able to share it with you. And I have a few other things that are not from them. So first of all, the first giveaway is a set of these stitch cards. These are little cards that have designs. They're all very small designs that would stitch up very quickly. You can probably stitch them individually or put them together in some kind of a sampler. So there's this set that has like a scarecrow, tractor, quilt. So kind of a fall look. These are kind of wintry themes. I guess that would make these spring and summer. So there's four sets of stitch cards that you can enter into this drawing for. Just a quick update. In order to enter this, you need to be 18 or have permission from your parent or guardian in order to enter this. If you would like to enter the drawing for this, leave a comment below with the keyword cards. And I will use the random YouTube comment picker to pick a comment out of all the comments that have cards in the comment. So that's the first giveaway. The second giveaway, this is a bunch of accessories that I have received. So let's see. There's a sheep needle minder. This is called a prim sheep enamel needle minder. This is all from the Fat Quarter Shop as well. So this needle minder, this is a ruler and a stitch gauge, a corner gauge that you can use if you like to measure from a corner to decide where to start. You can use this. It also has, you can easily use this to see what count fabric you have by aligning up with this count gauge along the side. And it also has a reference guide that has recommended number of strands to stitch with each count of fabric. So there's that. A label pack that you can use to put on the back of your finished pieces to basically have information about that piece. This finishing tape, a roll of finishing tape These are line keepers. They are magnetic, and you can put them on a magnetic board along your chart to be able to see what line you're stitching on. And also a project bag. This is a Prim project bag as well. So those are all accessories that I would be glad to share with you. So if you would like to enter the giveaway for these accessories, you can enter in a comment below with the keyword accessories, and you'll be entered into that. Okay. I also know that I have some people who watch who are also quilters. So I have some quilting stuff. I have a book from the Fat Quarter Shop that I've received. This is a Very Coriander Christmas by Corey Yoder. This is kind of a neat book. It has 12 blocks that you can use to make a quilt. And the blocks are all Christmas themed. So it's a month by month thing. I think the idea is you stitch a block each month. At the end of the year, you would have 12 blocks that you can use to assemble a quilt. And they are they're pretty blocks. They're really nice. The final quilt looks something like this. So they're all kind of, I guess those are all stars, different kinds of stars. So, and that looks like it'd be a really quick, if I were a quilter, this is something I think I would like to stitch. And also I have these are like called marking tools. I guess you use these when you cut out all the different pieces of fabric that you have to piece together to make a quilt square. You can use these to tell you which piece of fabric is which square, part of the square, so that you don't worry about forgetting what's what. So there's that. So if you would like to enter this giveaway, enter the keyword quilt in your comment. Okay. This next gift is courtesy of the Mercresticom Etsy shop. They sent me this a while ago, and it is a design that I've decided I'm never going to get around to stitching. So I would like to share this with somebody. It's a rose. It's called, the name of the design is Caustic Beauty, and it's a rose. There is a lot of detail in here, and if you look really closely, you can see there's also a hedgehog right there. So, and it's really pretty. I really like it. It's just low enough on my priority list that I think I'll never get to it. So I'd like to share this with somebody. So this is a Russian kit. The kit maker is Oben. I believe that's the way you pronounce that. If you would like to enter this giveaway, use the keyword rose in the comments below. And then I have one more, the last one. I'm excited to share this with you as well. These are some patterns that I really liked when I got them, and I've decided I'm never going to stitch them, so I would like to share them with somebody. These are all patterns from Just Nan, and they're a series of trees, kind of holiday-based trees. And in addition to the chart, there's also a pack of beads and charms that goes with each tree. So this is called Sweetheart Tree. So this is kind of like Valentine's themed. This is called Charmed Heart Trees. So this is kind of spring themed, kind of flowers. And this is called the Charmed Haunted Pumpkins Tree. Sorry, this is Sun Blossoms Tree. I read this. This is called Sun Blossoms Tree. This is Haunted Pumpkins Tree. which is, it has pumpkins and bats. And the final one is Peppermint Snowflakes Tree. So kind of a Christmassy winter type thing. So if you would like to enter the giveaway for those 4 charts, enter the keyword tree in the comments below. Okay? So I'm really excited about this. I will draw names and announce winners in my next video, and I'm excited to share those with you guys. Once again, thank you for subscribing to my channel, and thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. So we'll continue until next week. If you want to follow my daily progress and see what I'm doing, you can always follow me on Instagram. I am at blitstitch on Instagram. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I always enjoy hearing from you and would appreciate it if you would like my video. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope that you have a great week, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.